What if happiness was never meant to be chased, fixed, earned, or protected? What if it was already within you, quietly waiting for the moment you stop fighting life? There is a kind of happiness that doesn't depend on good news, a kind of peace that doesn't disappear when plans fall apart, a softness inside you that remains untouched even when life feels heavy. Most people never experience this, not because it doesn't exist, but because they are too busy resisting what is. We resist situations, we resist people, we resist endings, we resist uncertainty. And in doing so, we unknowingly resist our own happiness. Unconditional happiness begins the moment you stop arguing with reality. Life is happening exactly as it is meant to happen right now. Not because it's fair, not because it's easy, but because this is the only way this moment could exist. The moment you see this clearly, something inside you loosens. The tight grip around your chest softens. Your breath becomes slower. Your thoughts stop racing to fix what was never broken. The mind is trained to react. The heart is trained to feel. But unconditional happiness comes from witnessing. Most of our suffering doesn't come from events themselves. It comes from the story we tell about those events. Two people can go through the same situation, yet one feels destroyed while the other feels transformed. The difference isn't the event, it's the resistance. Resistance is subtle. It doesn't always look like anger or denial. Sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like, why me? Sometimes it looks like replaying the past again and again, hoping it could have been different. But reality doesn't rewind itself to make us comfortable. Reality asks us one simple thing. Can you see me as I am without trying to change me first? The moment you stop resisting reality, life stops feeling like a fight. Think about how exhausting it feels when you mentally argue with what has already happened. The body tightens, the breath shortens, the nervous system stays on alert. You are physically here, but emotionally trapped somewhere else. Unconditional happiness is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about allowing everything to be as it is, without turning it into a personal failure. When something doesn't go your way, the mind immediately labels it wrong, bad, unfair, unlucky. These labels become walls between you and peace. But when you simply observe the event without judgment, it loses its power over you. A situation is just a situation. An event is just an event. Pain becomes suffering only when resistance enters. There is a deep wisdom in letting things pass. Just like clouds don't ask for permission before moving across the sky, life doesn't wait for us to be ready. It moves, it shifts, it changes, and the more you try to control it, the more tense you become. But when you allow events to pass, without clinging, without pushing away, you begin to experience a strange freedom. You realize, I am not this moment. I am the awareness watching it. That awareness is calm. That awareness is spacious. That awareness is already at peace. Limited beliefs are one of the strongest barriers to unconditional happiness. These beliefs quietly shape how we interpret reality. Beliefs like, things should always go my way. People must understand me. I can't be happy until this changes. If I let go, I'll lose control. These beliefs are not truths. They are habits of thought passed down from fear. Reality doesn't ask you to abandon discernment. It asks you to abandon attachment. Attachment says, this must happen for me to be okay. Acceptance says, I can be okay, even if this doesn't happen. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is emotional intelligence at its highest level. When you accept reality, you stop draining your energy by fighting shadows. You stop exhausting yourself by trying to control outcomes. You begin to trust the flow, not because you understand it, but because you no longer need to. Unconditional happiness doesn't shout. It whispers. It whispers when you stop checking your phone for validation. It whispers when you breathe deeply during chaos. It whispers when you realize that peace doesn't need permission from circumstances. Most people believe happiness comes from adding something to their lives. More success, more love, more stability, more certainty. But unconditional happiness comes from subtracting. Subtracting resistance, subtracting unnecessary beliefs, subtracting the need to always be right, subtracting the need to control timing. Once these layers fall away, happiness reveals itself naturally. You don't need to force yourself to relax. Relaxation happens when resistance dissolves. The body already knows how to rest. The mind just needs to stop interfering. Have you ever noticed how relaxed you feel after crying deeply, or after finally accepting something you were fighting. That relief isn't weakness, it's alignment. When you see reality clearly without emotional filters, it loses its threat. You stop asking life to prove itself to you. You stop demanding answers. You stop needing closure for everything. And in that openness, something beautiful happens. You start responding instead of reacting. Reaction comes from fear. Response comes from clarity. Unconditional happiness grows in that space. It doesn't mean you won't feel sadness. It doesn't mean challenges disappear. It means those experiences no longer define your inner state. You stop making temporary moments permanent in your mind. Life teaches through contrast. Without discomfort, comfort would be meaningless. Without uncertainty, growth would be impossible. When you understand this, you stop labeling experiences as enemies. Everything becomes a messenger. Even discomfort arrives to show you where you're still holding on. The more you relax into what is, the more life begins to feel supportive rather than hostile. You stop pushing against the current and start floating with it. This doesn't make you passive, it makes you present. Presence is the doorway to unconditional happiness. When you are fully present, you are not haunted by the past or anxious about the future. You are here, and here is always manageable. The present moment doesn't overwhelm you, thoughts about it do. When you release the habit of mental resistance, your nervous system begins to heal. Your sleep improves, your breath deepens, your relationships soften. Not because others changed, but because you did. You stopped demanding life to meet your expectations. Instead, you met life with awareness. And awareness is freedom. There is a deep relaxation that comes when you realize, I don't have to figure everything out right now. That realization alone can shift your entire emotional state. Unconditional happiness is not an achievement. It is a remembering that peace was never missing, only covered by noise. The moment you stop resisting reality, you stop resisting yourself. You begin to trust that whatever arises will also pass. You begin to trust your ability to handle life as it unfolds. You begin to trust silence more than explanations. And in that trust, happiness becomes unconditional, not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with it. So let the events come. Let the situations pass. Let reality be what it is. Relax, not because everything is resolved, but because nothing needs to be forced. Unconditional happiness is already here, waiting for you to stop resisting it. In this quiet of acceptance, you find your true self no longer hidden beneath layers of expectation and demand. In this quiet, you discover contentment without conditions. Embrace the rise and fall of each new day. For within you is a morning star that guides through darkness. You need not chase it, for it resides deeply within. Peace is an indoor light illuminating from within. It requires no external switch, simply your presence, wholly and authentically in the now. Breathe deeply. Each inhale connects to this endless flow. Allow the awareness of gentle acceptance to lead. You are right where you need to be, always.